Hi, my name is Hannah Dweck. I'm one of the directors of the feature documentary Guest House, which follows three women who are battling with opioid addiction and trying to reclaim their lives.
I've used drugs since I was 17. I've always been a partier. This time around, my boyfriend turned me on to some crack cocaine, and it just hit me like, oh my goodness, like, what is this?
When I turned 18, went to go find my mom. I found her. She was doing drugs, and I started doing drugs with her.
I punched my hand through some glass one night when I was younger and ended up having nerve damage, so I had to have surgery to repair the nerve and the tendon in my wrist, and got prescribed painkillers. And they don't tell you that you might become mentally addicted to the way they make you feel. Definitely never would have thought, or anybody that would have known me back then would have thought that this would have been the path that I'd go down.
This is her new start, and if she screws this up, I told her, I'm done. I can't do it anymore. I shouldn't have to do it anymore.
I know that behavior very well, and behavior don't lie. Behavior don't lie. So when I see that dolphin behavior, I'm gonna call you on it. Maybe you wanna check it, and maybe you wanna go on back to your home. And I call the prisons and the jails your home, because that's where you've been going more so than going to your real house. In and out of jail, in and out of jail.
It feels good. You know what's crazy? Like, the sky is so big. How weird is that? From being locked up for so long and having this little tiny window, and then when you get out, it's just huge. It's weird.
If I was to relapse, it would feel like letting myself down. I would feel like a failure. I would feel like I didn't take the opportunity to get myself together when it was given to me.
Most people, I don't think, are born as criminals or born with the intention of wreaking havoc on their lives. It's easier for us to see them as bad people instead of people who just have so many things to overcome.
There were some things that you wanted to do with your life, you just got sidetracked. Yep. But don't take it for granted that you still can do it.
There's no better
still
time
can do
than
it.
now.
Yeah, and I don't let felonies and all that stuff stop you. Always have hope that somebody will open a door for you. Always have hope. And somebody will open that door for you. I'm telling you, somebody will open a door for you if they see you trying.
This question is interesting because I haven't totally experienced this, I don't think. The one thing that I really can relate to, though, with sort of having to stop and restart is the writing process, because I also do like to write fiction. So I was writing something before sort of all of the production began for this documentary, and then afterwards sort of having to pick up on that project and just sort of rereading everything that I had written before, sort of getting into that headspace again. And I think something that really helped me a lot was sort of rereading some of the research that I had done for the project to sort of resituate myself and sort of remember trains of thought and why I wrote down certain notes that sometimes don't make sense if you read them alone. So Yael Luttwak, she's the co-director with me. She and I definitely started to jump right into research, reading basically everything that was written about the opioid crisis, trying to get a really good sense of what was being put out sort of daily in newspapers or in the news. But of course, as we started to meet these women and sort of see their real experience, it made us want to dive into sort of different areas that we hadn't anticipated before. And I think one of the things that we were sort of learning about on the job, but also there was some research that we could do behind this, was a lot of the psychology of addiction and recidivism. And, we had to maintain very close relationships with our subjects, which were incredibly gratifying. But at the same time, we needed to meet them where they were. So having to sort of research the psychology there, sort of while we were in it, I think was a big part of the process. And a lot of like our research would come from talking to people like experts, doctors who have, dealt with a lot of addicts.
Yeah.
And just sort of like learning from their own personal experience, because it's like kind of something you can't really read in a book. I don't know. I mean, I guess like writing, I really like to talk about with other writers, because sometimes it can feel like a really lonely process.
Right.
And so when you like talk to other writers who like know what that feels like, it feels like, oh wait, maybe I actually do kind of have a community, even though I'm not like sitting with them as I'm doing the work. So that's something that feels really good to talk to other artists about. And I guess like another, this is like kind of obvious, but is like post-production, where like a lot of people wouldn't know exactly what it takes to go from like filming a movie to actually putting it on screen. So like talking to other artists when you're trying to like figure out ways to, tailor the film or make it what you want is really helpful, just for people who really understand that process. I kind of just like dove in head first. And Yael was sort of like, talking me through what to expect and various things. She's more seasoned than I am. But I didn't really know exactly what I was not like getting myself into. It's a lot of fun, but like what was up ahead. So now I feel like for future projects, I've certainly learned quite a bit about like what it means to have really good PR, or like what does it really take to form a plan like that. Even just like from the beginning of like applying to festivals, to getting in, to going, and like that sort of journey, I don't think that I really could have been prepared for. But now that I am sort of going through it, it definitely is something that I'll consider like in the future with projects for sure. I think that there definitely should be a line. I mean, that was something that actually making my own documentary, like I was sort of smacked in the face with it, where it's like, you have to remember that these are people's lives, even if you're, making a movie out of it, because ultimately like they are still going to go on. So if you put something in your movie and they're saying something really mean about another person or whatever it is, they are going to have to deal with those consequences.
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted to be really careful, and especially like in a reentry program like this, where they have a lot of rules, and there's, they need to live by, the rules set for them by the house. Certainly, like the first time Yael and I sort of came up against like, ooh, if we like go with them this day to this place, are we sort of like breaking a rule? And we also really are so thankful to the people who run this program for letting us in, that we ended up just sort of talking with them and asking them what they felt that we should do, because we didn't want to sort of disrespect them by sort of knowing secrets about these people who are really trying to overcome an addiction that's incredibly difficult. So we don't want to like affect their recovery by encouraging negative behavior, but at the same time not wanting to like leave things out or alter their environment. So certainly like we sort of made the decision during the filming process, like talking about like how far do we go until we say like, no, we're not going to film this anymore. Not even like, are we going to put it in the movie, but just like, we can't follow them somewhere. So we were pretty fortunate in that we didn't have to deal with that very much, but that's definitely something that I think is really important with documentary filmmaking, because, you need to be really respectful to the people who are putting their faith in you to make a movie about them. We have a website for the movie. It's guesthousedoc, like doc.com. And you can sort of there's a trailer for the movie there. All of our festival screenings are there. We also have like resources that people can look at if they're struggling or family members are struggling, and even just to learn more about the issue. There's like so much information about the opioid crisis that sometimes it's hard to find like statistics that you can trust. So we took great care to sort of put that on the website. And we do have, I mean, it's very young, but we do have an Instagram for the production company. It's just Dweck Productions,
Nice.
where we're starting to sort of, you know, build up our social media presence. It's been cool. This is my, you know, my first movie. And so one of the things, like when my family saw it or like when my friends see it, they're like, oh my God, this looks like a real movie. You know, like as if they like weren't expecting that to happen or something, like, I don't know.